Hey everybody, my name is Paul Abernathy and welcome back to Electrical Code Academy. We are leading educators when it comes to learning the National Electrical Code and preparing for electrical exams. And tonight I want to do a couple questions for you to learn the technique that we call bold scanning. We're going to talk about the technique of looking at a question and dissecting the pieces and the elements out of it. And these are all the things that we teach our Fast Track students who are in our Fast Tracks program. If you're really struggling to learn the NEC and you want the best way to learn it in the most intuitive way, we have created a structured plan that teaches you the National Electrical Code. And it's not any hype either. It's legit. And if you're interested in it, we have demos. Just go to this website right here, fasttracksystem.com, and do me a favor. Just watch the demo on the product you're interested in. And if you're studying for an electrical exam, it's the Fast Tracks Black or the Fast Tracks Plus. Now, the only difference in the two is the Plus gives you access to 12 months of our Fast Tracks Tube, and that's where we put all of our exclusive videos that are only available on that platform. So if you're interested in that, just go with the Plus. You get a discount because normally it's $125 annually for that, but the Plus, it's rolled into it and you're basically getting a $25 discount. So if you're interested in that, check it out. But those are our exam prep products. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If you're studying a National Electrical Code based exam, then our product's going to help you achieve your goals with that. You get to join me on Wednesday nights if you want. It doesn't matter whether you come for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long we're there. Bring your questions. If you're struggling in our course, that's where you would come and I'll answer all your questions and make it so simple that you walk away from it going, I should have known that. And I try to pride myself in breaking those things down for you, but there's a difference between going out there and struggling on your own and actually getting to a program where you get real support by people who are in the in crowd when it comes to the National Electrical Code. I mean, if you've ever opened up this code book, you'll see my name in the front under Code Panel 5 and Code Panel 17. I've been doing this for over 30 years. So when you're watching educators out there and you're trying to learn the National Electrical Code, remember, you have to worry about qualifications and whether or not they've actually taught people before. Because that's important because it's the manner of how we teach it. And our course was based on a structured layered system that really teaches you step by step. It kind of drip feeds you content as you learn the National Electrical Code. It's challenging. Our course is tough, but you walk away. And that's why we have an over 99% success rate for those that follow the program. They don't deviate from it. Then you'll be successful. And if you struggle along the way, the course will help identify where your weaknesses are. You may think your weaknesses are calculations when in reality it's your lookup skills. So again, we'll identify all that. And again, you can come and join us on Wednesday nights and we have message boards, we have chat forums, we have many ways to support you. And you don't get that in books, you don't get that in DVDs, people that sell mass courses. Try to contact them and get assistance. Call us. Chances are you'll get patched straight through to me and you can ask your questions. Okay, so that's how much we support our program. So again, if you're interested in it, check it out. There's the web address. All right, let's kind of go look at some code questions and start dissecting some things. All right, so here's our first question. And again, you get on an exam, you want to make sure you have a good calculator. I do not recommend a solar only. I'd rather have one with a battery and solar, dual powered. However, do with what you can, but make sure you have a good calculator and be real familiar with what we call the 3-wave method. And that is, first wave, answer every question that you know based on your study habits that you know right away. Just answer it and go on. You'll build you some time. Anything that takes over a minute or so and you still don't have the answer, click the little electronic mark and then go to the next question. That way, when you get to the end, you'll be able to go back and look at all the ones that you check marked. And that's how you make sure that you knock a bunch of them in the first wave. And then the second wave, you can spend a little more time on each question because you've built up some time. And when you finally answer it on the second wave, spending about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes max per question, and if you answer it, you uncheck it and then you go to the next checked question. And then slowly, that third wave, you'll have nothing but checked questions again. And in that third wave, you want to make sure before you leave it that you answer it, whether it's an educated guess or eliminating some of the obvious wrong answers to increase your odds, but doing it in 3 waves. And if that sounds confusing to you, do me a favor. All you got to do is go to our YouTube channel and search for 3-wave method, and you will see the method that we devised on how to tackle an electrical exam. And it really does lower the stress. Okay. All right, so let's look at this question real quick. So this question, we're going to talk a little bit about dissection, because I'm going to give you some tidbits here that you should remember. If an educator that tries to sell you a course or program spends so much time emphasizing on timing you, then they're really not worth their salt. If you're in the study phase, you're not worried about timing. You want to take a question like this and you want to dissect the crap out of it. Learn all the possible key terms in here that could have helped you get the answer. And we want to do this in conjunction with the index, because that's where we're going to learn what is and what is not in the index. And once you do that, it's going to be very beneficial on an exam to be very efficient of your time. Okay, so let's look at this question. The question says the maximum length for the supply cord of a 240 volt room air conditioner is. Well, the triggers here are, it's a supply cord and it's for a room air conditioner, right? So we could go to the index and look under room air conditioner. We can look under supply cord, or we could look under cord, because cord is broader. So that's 3 different possibilities to maybe come up with the answer. And if I can have more options in the index to find the answer because I'm able to identify key triggers, then the better chance we are going to get that question right, and that we don't waste our time fumbling around. All right, so the first thing that I would do is, let's say we're just going to do room air conditioners. So I'm going to go back in the back of the book and I'm going to see if there's anything under room air conditioners. So you've got your code book, pause this video, go back in the index, and while you're on pause, I'll go look for it, and I'm going to look for room air conditioner to see if there's anything under room air conditioner. And so I'm back here looking to see if there's anything under room air conditioner. All right, room air conditioners. Okay, it says see air conditioners, rooms. So this one you'll learn something right away, folks, that if you get an exam question that asks about room air conditioners, you're not going to go to room air conditioners. You're going to go to air conditioners, but there's going to be a heading for air conditioners, refrigeration, and heating. But there's also going to be one called air conditioners, comma, room, because that's what it says to see right here. All right. So we're going to go to air conditioners real quick in our index. And I'm at the front and I'm at air conditioners, room. And you'll notice that it says 440 and it says part 7. Now, when you look at this, you'll see that there's not many sections here. So you shouldn't even pause right at that point. Go straight to part 7 of 440 and start bold scanning. But we're not going to do that yet. Okay, we're going to also look at what other aspect gets us there. All right, so that tells us that it's part 7. But okay, now, what about supply cord? All right, so let's go and see if there's anything under supply cord, because that can be very broad. There's a lot of things that have a supply cord. So we want to narrow down so that in the future, if we ever get a question that says supply cord or has something to do with the supply cord, is supply cord actually in the index? And that's the kind of way that we do it, because now you'll forever know that it's not under room air conditioning. If you get a room air conditioner question, it's under air conditioning room. All right. Now, looking under supply cord, I'm going to go to supply and see if there's anything under. And I'm under S, and I'm looking to see if there's anything under supply. Supports. Nope, I don't see anything under supply. So we have realized that we'll hear the term or see the term supply cord a lot in the code, but that's not going to help us in the index. But what about a more generic approach to it? Cords, right? So let's go see what's under cords. So we'll go back to C. Trust me, folks, there's a method to the madness of dissecting a question. If you don't have a course like our Fast Tracks and you just have a good set of questions, don't eat your questions up so quick, right? use the question. Now I'm going to have people post in the comment. It never fails. I have some Nimrod who will post in there and say, Paul, you took too long on the question. You obviously are brain dead and didn't hear a word I said. Don't waste my time. Don't waste these fine folks' time. Go somewhere else. There's a method to my method of teaching, and if you don't like it, don't watch my videos. If that offends you, I'm sorry. I'm here to make you successful, not the bull crap that people do on social media. I have no tolerance for it. I'm here to make you successful, and I'm showing you all of the techniques that have helped literally thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people be successful in my 30 plus years of teaching. All right, so chord. All right, so let's go look and see what we got for chord. And chords, okay, you'll see that you have chords. And under chords, you'll go down and you'll see there's a lot of things under chords. And so air conditioner, 440.64, chords for an air conditioner. So that even narrowed it down even more. So we could have gone to part 7 in bolt scan, but we also under chords hear something that says, hey, you need to go to 440.64, right? So now we have what? Found something under chords. We found that air conditioning, room air conditioner, has its own specific part. So you know what? We've really narrowed this down. But what I've shown you is that there's many ways to find triggers in a question. So we're going to go on and go to 440, part 7. And then since we know that it's so small, it's not going to take us anything to jump to part 7, to 440.64. So let's kind of go here. All right, we're at 440. I'm going to go, bear with me here. I'll get this here. So we're at 440 right here. Provisions for room air conditioners. All right, and in our question, it was asking about what? Feet. So we're using that as the trigger. And here we'll see, there you go, supply cord. Supply cord. Now we notice there's a 10-foot and there's a 6-foot. Be careful. If you're doing it too quickly in the code and you look at it and you'll see, oh, it's got to be 10-foot. But remember, our cord was for 240 volts. So it's 120-foot is the not exceed. So that's the maximum length. If it says not exceed it, then that's the maximum length of 10 feet for a 120-volt one, or 6 feet for a 208 or a 240-volt one. So we'll come back to the question. And we dissected the crap out of this one, and we're pretty confident that it is 6 feet, and there's our code reference, 440.64. Multiple ways, and that's why you take your time. We got more out of that one question than we would have if we had just answered it like that and moved on, okay? Next question. Feeder for 3-phase, 208-volt, 25-horsepower motor requires what? Okay, this is for a feeder. Now, we obviously know we have multiple motors here, right? We've got 2 motors, not a single motor, 2 motors. So, if you didn't know the answer or where to go for feeders, and where are we going for motors? Well, this is why I tell people to create flashcards. Because if you had created some flashcards, or if you're in our Fast Tracks program, we have electronic flashcards, and you can make any number you want. And I tell students all the time, how about you make flashcards for every article in the code? On one side, put what the article is. On the other side, put the description of what it is. Like 430, motors. 440, air conditioning, heating. Okay? Well, air conditioning and refrigeration. What else? 422, appliances, right? 410, luminaires, lamp holders, what have you. Right? If you do that enough, 334 non-metallic sheath cable, 336 tray cable, 338 surface entrance cable, 210 branch circuits, 225 outdoor branch and feeder circuits, okay, 100 definitions. So if you do this enough, do it for the tables too. Have one table that says ampacity, 310/16 table. What about equipment grounding conductors, 250.122? What about grounding electroconductors, 250.66? What about supply side bonding jumpers and grounding conductors minimum sizing, 250.102C? So, and if you want to be more specific, the table is C1. All of these things. What about motors? FLCs, 248, 430, 248, 249, 250, 247. All of those tables, if you get to where you can just know them off the top of your head, you're going to be a much better electrician. But on an exam, it's going to be vitally important, because let's look at this question. This question right here, you already know it's talking about motors, and it's talking about the feeder, which are conductors to motors. And we have multiple motors, right? More than one, right? Several motors. So in this case, if you didn't know, you could go to 430 if you know that that's the article, and you start bold scanning. But we also, if you were really struggling, let's go to the index and let's go under motors. So I'm going to go to the index and I'm going to go under motors, because actually that's the key trigger. And we'll see if feeder gives us anything. Remember how we dissect these things? But go under motors. And again, I'll remind you, if somebody says, oh, that takes too long, you only got 2 minutes on a question, they don't understand why we do this dissection. As you get better, that last 2 to 3 weeks before your test, you can do speed. All right. Right now, we're building our skills up, and it takes time. Don't be impatient. So let's go to motors. And I'm going to look under motors. All right, so under motors, I go down, and what do we see? When you see a word underneath the index, and then you see some that are slightly to the down and to the right, that means they're part of the main word. They're just down below it. So in this case, you see that there's conductors, right? And it's in part 2 of Article 430. But now you go to the offset, and all of these things are conductors. And what do you see down here? Several motors. You've got single motor, and you got several motors. Well, we've got servo motors. 2 qualifies as servo motors. So it says go to where? 430.24. Okay? So we're going to do that. But while I'm here, I wrote that down, .24 of 430. I'm also going to go look at feeders real quick and see if there's anything under feeders that says motors. So I'm going to go look and see if there's anything under feeder. And you'll forever remember, you'll never forget now that under motors, when you're asked you about conductors, whether it's for adjustable speed drives or whatever, just go to motors, go to conductors, and you'll see something underneath it. That's how we do this. So let's see here. We're going to go to feeders real quick and see if we see anything in feeders. Okay, I see feeders. Now that tells us 215, but I'm going to go down and see if it says anything about motors in feeders. Boom, it does, folks. It says go to part 2. Now, it's not being specific to a code section, but you're only having to bold scan one part. So it's a good, candidate for a good bold scanning technique, right? So what is bold scanning? Let's look at that. So let's say we didn't use the other one, right? That gave us specifically where we needed to be. Right? So let's say we were, and that one was 24, but let's say we were doing bold scanning, we used the motors, and we went to part 3. Okay, let's do that. So this is what bold scanning is in your code book. You come here, you try to find the area it puts you in. In this case, we were going to be in part 2. So I'm going to go down to part 2, which is right here. So I'll kind of go there. So here's, oops, where are we at? There. Okay. Here's motors, part 2, circuit conductors. Now you're bold scanning, single motor. That's not what we have. Okay. Bold scanning, looking at all the headings. Wound motors. Wound. No, not what we're headed. Servo motors. Boom. 430.24. Now here's what it says you do. Remember what our question was? We had 2 motors. It was a 3-phase, 25 horsepower, and there was 2 of them. Here's what it says. It says 125% of the full load current. Where do you go to get full load currents, folks? You go the back of Article 430 to those tables, right? Okay. It says 125% of the full load current rating of the highest rated motor as determined by 430.6a. Well, 430.6a is what tells you the tables that you go to, right? That's where it tells you about these tables. And so, for example, if I were to go click on that table, and it looks like it didn't go there, so we're going to have to go there. Okay, so 125% of the FLC of the highest rated motor, and then it says the sum of the FLC rating of all the other motors in the group. Means it's connected to the same phases as the first motor. That means they're in the same group, right? Okay, so 125%. Now, both of these are the same, so you just pick one of them. and do it at 125% and then 100% of the other one. But now I need to know what the FLC is, full load current. And remember, that's in the code, not on the nameplate. That's full load amps. We use that for overloads, and we'll use it also for unique motors like intermittent duty, periodic duty, and all of those things that also are in 430.22e. But that's for a whole different episode. Here, we know what we're looking for. So we're going to go to those tables. So let's do it right now. And here's the tables. And let's get to the tables. Okay, here are the tables. Now this table here, just so you can see, that is direct current. So that's 247. That's not what we want. Click on this one. All right, this is single phase, not what we want, and that's 248. And 249, this is two phase, not what we want. Here's 250. This is most certainly what we want. Okay, this is the full load current, three-phase motors. Now, in this case, it didn't say any specific motor, so you're going to use these tables because these are the most common. And so this was a 208 volt, 125 horsepower. So we'll go down here. So 208's this column right here, so we can remember that's going to be this column right here. So we go 208 and we come down to 25 horsepower right here. 74.8. So it's real simple, folks. Remember what it said back in 430.24? You basically take 74.8 times 1.25, that is 93.5, plus the 100% of the FLC of the sum, and that's the second motor. And so you take that, it's 74.8, and that is 168.3. Okay, well, we get to drop the 0.3. So we're going to come back to our course here. Let's get me back to the lesson. And it was 168.3, and your only obvious choice is to drop the 0.3 and click 168. And there's your reference, 430.24, 1 and 2. But the beauty of this, dissecting this question, is on the exam, it's not just as easy as this reference. I mean, you have to go look up the FLC. And knowing where those are can save you time. You just flipping. Now, that is a calculation, believe it or not. It is. That is a calculation, basically a two-step calculation. One is the multiplication, and then two is the additive of taking the value from 125% of the highest rated motor and then 100% of the other. So that's kind of like a two-step math equation. So if you're doing the calculation exam, these are ones that you can easily answer within a minute or so. So you do want to tackle these. It's the other ones that you realize are many steps. Go on and check that and do that in the next wave. I want to answer the easier ones first and get them out of the way. Okay, does that make sense? That's going to reduce your stress on an exam. And it may seem like common sense, but I get a fair amount of calls from people who say, Paul, I know the process and I freaked out during the exam. You just have to understand, and that's why we save that timing stuff to the last 2 to 3 weeks, really. Right now, you're just dissecting it, becoming more familiar with using the code book. Trust me, there's a method to the madness, and if you just stick with me, you'll get it. Trust me. All right. Next, live parts of a generator with the voltage of more than blank volts shall not be exposed to accidental contact or accessible to unqualified persons. Okay, what's the trigger here? What are we really asking about? We're asking about a generator. And what about the generator? The live parts, right? Okay, so triggers. If you didn't know that the article for generators, if you had those flashcards, you would, but you'd know that generators is 445. But if you didn't, go to, and it's not really big. Generators is not big, so you'll get used to realizing that you could use bold scanning techniques to do this, and it might save you more time than going in the index. But I want you to get familiar with the index while you're in your study phase, right? And so what you're going to do is I'm going to go to the back and I'm going to go to generators. and see what we've got. So I'm in the back and I'm looking for generators, and I see generators, and now I'm looking for live parts. So I'm going to see if there's anything to do with live parts, anything to do with unqualified persons, exposed, accidental contact, any of those type of things, to see if we could get any help here. But one thing you'll notice when you're back here, you'll notice that it's not a very extensive article, because there's a lot of .11s, .12s, .20, .35. That means it's not really big. So bold scanning here may be your friend looking for those triggers. And what are other triggers here? The voltage, 50, 75, 100, and 150. If you're bold scanning, you're scanning it over quickly, and you'll get better at it, and you're looking for those answers there. But I'm looking real quickly, and I want to see if there's anything down here. And of course also, okay, good enough. So I'm looking here and seeing, what do we got? We got generators, conductors, critical operations, ground faults, grounding, okay. Guards for attendance, okay, that might be pretty important. Let's see, legally required, listing, location, markings, protection. Oh, look at here, protection of live parts under generator, okay. That's one way. Now, second thing, we already know that was beneficial. Where was that? That was 445.14. Okay, right up at the front of 445. Now, while we're here, again, we're going to practice what we preach. We want to see if there's anything under live parts, because that's another part of the topic. So I'm going to look and see if it says anything in here about live parts. There's live parts here. All right, under live parts, Michael, see if there's anything for generators. Boom, it says generator protection under live parts, 445.14. Folks, do you see the method of the madness? You have a better chance of success if you learn to dissect a question and get used to what's in here. Now you'll forever know that there's a place in the index about live parts, right? So if your question on an exam has some statement about live parts, you can go there with confidence, right? Instead of flipping. These are things that if you do this over time, you'll become more proficient. Trust me, there is a method to the madness. So in this case, we have both of them sending us to what? Where we need to be, and that is going to be in 445.14. So let's go there in our code book. And we did that really quickly. So 445, right here. Now, again, if you had identified that it was 445, I want to show you how short this really is. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to show you. That's it. Folks, that's it. 20. There's 20 sections. It's not big at all. Now, if I was bold scanning this and just went right to 445 because I knew that it was a small article, I'm bold scanning for the live parts. So I'm looking here, and I'm going down. And boom, right there, live parts. And I see the triggers in here. There's voltage classes. Now, immediately I notice you're saying, well, Paul, how do you know it's not 50 or 60? Well, if you look in the question, it says 50 for AC, 60 for DC. More often than not, you're going to be doing an AC application. So let's go back to the question. It said 50 or 60. Well, obviously, I don't have 60 as an option, so you go right with the 50. There's your reference, and you move on, okay? Next question. Transformers shall be marked with its impedance rating if rated at blank kVA or more. All right, so what are we looking for here? We've identified, you know that you've identified the trigger here. Transformers. Do you know what article transformers is? Well, if you made flashcards, you would, and you really will. If you're asking me, if a gentleman asked me on a podcast today, Paul, how can you help me do better on an exam? And I'm like, just learn your articles better. It's going to save you a lot of stress. And if you reduce that stress, you have a better time sitting for an exam, right? So what is the actual article for transformers? Article 450, right? But what are we going to do? We're going to say, what are we looking for? We're looking for impedance ratings, okay? Markings. Okay, markings, impedance rating, all of that. So let's go and look under transformers in the index. Again, we're studying. You might say, well, Paul, screw that. I'm going to go right to 450 and bold scan. Well, you can do that when you're doing your timing. What are we doing? We're dissecting. Stay focused. Stay passionate about it. So I'm going to go look at it. So I'm going to go to transformers and see what we've got. How well is the index possibly going to help us? It's not the holy grail, folks, but it can help you out if you learn how to maneuver it. So I'm going to look transformers. Okay, here's transformers. And again, we're looking for markings or something about impedance ratings. So let's see what we've got. So I've got transformers, and then I'm just kind of going through it and see what we might have. And you may have nothing. So let's see here. I'm going through markings, 450.11. You're going to write that down. If you're doing the code and you're using the index, you go, ooh, I'm going to write that down, .11. You already know you're in 450, so all you got to do is write .11. And now we're going to see if there's anything else in here that might be beneficial to us. I keep on going down, and I really don't see anything in here that would be more beneficial to us. I saw nothing that said impedance ratings. I don't think I saw anything that said ratings. So that's our best action item right there on that. What else could we look under? Well, could we look under ratings? All right. Well, maybe we'll just do it while we're here. We already have kind of know where we got to go because it said markings, and we know where we want to go. So we wrote that down, right? So under transformers, you looked at and you saw markings, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to write that down. Markings is .11. But let's just go real quick and see if there's anything under ratings. Just because we're here. All right. So I'm in the R's, and then I want to see if there's anything for ratings. It's worth a look, folks. So, okay, so I don't see anything. Wait a minute. There's ratings, rated power, but none of that looks like that's anything beneficial to the transformer aspect of what we're looking for. Okay, dead end there. But now you know that. You know there's nothing in there about impedance. You know there's nothing about ratings, but you know there is something in there about markings. So we're there. Now, some people would say to Paul, well, why don't you, since you know it's marked and you know we're talking about marking something on the transformer, maybe there's something under markings. Okay, now you're getting it. That's how you do it. That's how you dissect. So I'm going to go to markings, see if there's anything under markings, just to see. And I'm under M. And I'm going to see if there's any. There is something under markings. But it isn't really anything that's geared towards our help here because we've identified its transformer markings. So nothing really else in here is very beneficial to us. So we're going to head on over to 450.11. That's where we need to be. And you probably would have gone there right away once you got that markings. It seems like that would have been a no-brainer. But remember your bold scan techniques. So let's show you if you didn't and you just went to 450. And I'm also going to show you how short 450 is. Ready? That's it. 48 sections. Not nearly what you think it is. So time is of the essence for your exam. Bold scanning will help you out. But what we're looking for is let's just practice what we preach. We already know what section we want to go to, but let's just practice what we preach. All right, here's transformers, and we're going to be bold scanning. Two's definition, overcurrent protection is not about our question. Keep on going. Auto transformers, not about our question. Grounding, nope, not about our question. But you did learn that if you had an auto transformer question, you know where to go, right? In 450. Let's see here. Secondary ties, that wasn't our question. Parallel operations, not our question. Guarding, not our question. Ventilation, not a grounding, not our question. Markings. Now, impedance. That's the only thing in there that references the question that had impedance ratings. So what does it say? Right here, each transformer shall be provided with a nameplate giving the following information. Impedances of transformers 25 kVA and larger. Okay, so come back to the question. There's your 25. It's just worded a little different, and you're going to get that on exams. Worded a little different, but it's under markings, so we have to be able to identify what this question is really asking us. It's asking about the impedance, whether it has the word rating on it or not. In this case, 25 was the answer, and there is 450.11a5, and that's where we found it in there. We dissected this thing out. We knew that transformer was the key, and since it is a small article, you could have gone and bold scanned right away, or like we did, we went to index, transformers, and obviously markings was there, because that's what the question's asking about. What's to be on the marking? All right, last question, folks, is capacitor cases shall be connected to a blank. All right, well, you see all these questions here either have something about, either it's to the ungrounded conductor, it would make no sense to energize that casing, right? That's a no-brainer. You could knock that one out right away. Isolated neutral, why? Doesn't make sense. Grounded conductor, that's the same as the neutral. Doesn't make sense. Process of elimination tells me it would be equipment grounding conductor. But we're going to check. We're going to check. But this is easy for us because we know that it's asking about capacitors. So it obviously, if you were doing your flashcards, you would say, boom, Paul, I know what that is. That is Article 460. But if you're saying, oh, I know capacitors is an article, I'm not sure what it is, and you didn't want to go to the index, guess what? I can go to the front of the book. I can go to what? The chapters, and I can look at the different articles and see what they're titled. That's the table of contents. I could go up there. So if I were to do that, and you go up here, you'll look and you'll see that capacitors is 460. And in this case, you know that deals with 1,000 volts nominal or under. This one it didn't say, so that means you know it's going to be in the front of it. It's going to be in the general information. Okay, it didn't get too specific, right? It didn't get deeper into over 1,000. It's going to be deeper. It's kind of a generalized question, right? So I'm going to go to 460. We know it's short. We're going to bold scan that sucker. So I'm going to go to 460. And here I am in 460 right here. And I'm just going to go to the very beginning of 460 right here. Okay. And what I'm looking for is the reference to connecting to one of these items, whether it's the ungrounded, grounded, but all of these have something to do with what? Either grounded or grounding or equipment grounds. So it's something about doing some bonding to this case. So I'm going to bold scan down and discharge. That doesn't really have anything to do with it. Conductors, not really helping us on any of that. Oh, grounding. All right, well, then I see cases. The question has cases. You got to get familiar with being able to look at a question, visually lock it in, and then when you're looking at the code, those things will jump out at you. Trust me, you can't not make it happen the more you dissect and get used to dissecting. Trust me. Do this with me for 3 months, and you're going to be calling me up or emailing me or texting me going, Paul, you were right. I feel so much more confident in the code book by using these study skills, these little tips. Don't let anybody tell you it's just about time. It is not just about time, folks. So, what does it say? Capacitor cases shall be connected to the equipment grounding conductor. It seemed like that should have been common sense anyway, right? So we'll kind of go back and equipment ground, and there's our reference, 460.10. Okay? Folks, it's really just that simple. I really pray that you get into a good structured program. If you're not doing ours and you're using somebody else's, that's fine. I still want you to succeed. And if you've got a set of questions, don't blow through your questions. Dissect the questions. You're going to get more out of that. You can find questions to use to practice. Okay? Jay does a great thing over on TikTok where you can go and for nothing, you can go and answer questions in his live stream. That's a great resource. But prior to that, you want to get used to dissecting. You can time yourself later. Learn the technique of dissecting. Learn how to use this index. Learn what's not in the index. We learned that room air conditioning is not in the index. It's air conditioning room. We also learned that supply cords are not back there, but cords is very defined back there, right? So many good things can come out of taking your time and dissecting code questions. It's going to make you better in the end. All right, folks? All right, well, I hope you got something out of that. It's been beneficial to you. I wish you luck on your exams. If you really want to learn the code and get into a structured program, please, I recommend you go at least watch my demo on the Fast Tracks Black. Look at all the features that our course provides you, from flashcards to bookmarking to reading out loud to you. You can print out any page you want. We have competency reviews where I will grade your work and give you feedback. All of that's there. You get access to the Wednesday night sessions. You get access to the Sparky Hub, the special folder for fast track students. So much is there to help you succeed as long as you take advantage of it. All right. Okay, folks, I appreciate you. If you made it this long, God bless you, and much success on your upcoming electrical exam. Until next time, stay safe. God bless.